Hello, everybody. This is Mike from MBoxWave.com. I just got in a short position this morning's E-mini S&P. So I just got in around right here after this X total control dot right here with the bids in control. I would even say that the bids are dominating. Um, So I'll talk about the analysis and then we'll see what happens. But I really like this setup. It looks very strong to me. So the market's just opened up here at 9:30, right here. At the market open, we had this total control of the bids. So if you notice these, the new indicators, the XKontrol draws these dots here, and we got this big dot, this big red dot, three big red dots, which show that the bids are in control. And then we have one green dot here that shows offers are in control temporarily, which I'll talk about. So let's go over the stop placement for now and the take profit. Also, I drew these lines here extending from the inbox histogram and the cumulative delta. So first thing I did is once I saw this amount of selling here and here, I compared it to the previous day, right? And so usually I like to say when it exceeds the previous day, it's really strong. Here it did not exceed the previous day, but compared overall to the previous day, it's very strong selling right here, right? Except for this here, this box, and this box, but overall it's very strong comparatively. And same thing with the cumulative selling is that comparatively it did not exceed this point, but overall it is strong compared to the previous day. The pace didn't get there just yet compared to this, but when we're looking at it and zoom back in, it's pretty strong. So currently I put my take profit here and we'll see how it reacts. It's got to fall quite a bit to reach that, but if the supply continues, so tentatively I just placed it here because this was an area of strong support. We had a bounce off here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are levels from the previous day, right? And I could have put it up here, I guess, but I want to see how much I can make today. If the analysis starts to change, then I could end up moving it, the take profit. All right, so let's zoom back in, and oh wow, it already dropped quite significantly, already 7,000 in profits. So that's happening very, very quickly while we're just looking at it right now. Okay, so let's start doing this. So markets opened up. We have huge amount of selling here and huge amount of selling here. All right, so let's get that. So we got the MBox selling, and we have the cumulative also selling, and like I said, I compared it to the previous day. So since the markets just opened, right, I didn't have much to compare this to. I'm not going to compare this to here pre-market where you just don't have the volatility and the volume, right? So normally I would not label this. This is the first minutes of the market open. Normally I wouldn't label it, but comparing to the previous day gives me context so that I can label it, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. All right, so we had all these control, right here, we had the bids in control. It's total control because that's the big dot. And we had the in the X pace, we saw that clearly the bids, we can see that clearly the bids are outpacing the offers. All right. So everything looks quite bearish here. And the entry point that I used was we had a lot of stuff going on here actually. So we had the here I pretty much got in at this breakdown, roughly. Well, I was looking at both of these downswings, so basically it broke down with total control of the bids through the previous two swings. Right, so that's we have a breakdown on total XKontrol of the bids. All right, so it looks like price is moving pretty quickly, went in our direction. Still around 7 grand in profits. All right. Prior to that, there was also, we had these nice double algos here. Wrong color. So we had these nice double algos, pullback with stooges and upthrust with stooges. Very nice. We had two double algos. Those all right. And to get a little more technical, because so we see that bids are in control, we've got a lot of selling, we do see supply, the minus 282 shows the wave supply. I'll write that down. Okay, so how does the other side react? How does demand and buying react? Well, so this is where it requires some more in-depth analysis, because when you reach, say, a zone like this right here, it's like, what do you do, right? On one hand, you can argue that supply selling has contracted and buying has contracted. It's like, who's winning at this point, right? So when you reach something like this, I always look at, well, what's the overall bias here? The overall bias, which is very strong, is all this selling and we have this supply, right? Which is the bias. But how does demand and the buying react? Okay, and that's what gives us the clue and the confidence for entering this trade. This is what made me more confident to enter this trade. Right, so let's read the numbers here. Okay, so if you read the wave, supply goes minus 282, minus 102, minus 37. So one can say that supply is contracting. Okay. On the other hand, you see the demand goes 163, 122, 38, 18. It also looks like it's contracting. So which side is the correct side? See, this is the whole conundrum and complexity in trading. Is the glass half full or is it half empty? Which side has the more of the pulling power? You constantly have to make decisions like this. So looking at the waves, it looks like both sides are contracting. Okay, but what's really going on? All right, so you see that like I said, when you see this and contraction, you look at the overall bias. Overall bias, we have the wave supply and the selling and the bids outpacing. We have the bids in control. Bam, that's already most of the answer here, okay? Because what's going on here is giving a chance, since markets move in swings up and down, this part here is giving a chance for what are the bulls going to do? What's demand? Where's the buying at? What's that going to do? Okay, so let me get to it. So the 122, 38, 18. All right, so what we have is we have a contraction in demand. Okay. And that's not even the biggest clue yet. Okay, that got me really excited in this trade. The biggest thing that got me really excited in this trade was that at this time we see demand contracting, we see some buying here, right here. We see a rise in buying, yet a contraction in demand. So what does that mean? That means it's overbought. So this is the beauty of the MBox Precision Delta, is being able to spot things like this, right? So demand is contracting. We see that 163, 122, 38, 18. Here we don't have a clue picture, but in the cumulative delta, we see that it's overbought. All right, because there's a rise and we have a contraction here, overbought. So other people have asked this before. How come we don't see this in the MBox histogram, but we see it in the cumulative delta? Because the MBox histogram shows the buying in boxes, box at a time, and resets at each box. This will show you the overall buying. That's the difference. So when we can't make sense of this here, look at here. I compare this to these contracting numbers, and I can conclude that it's overbought, right? More so when we actually break down and the bids gain total control again, we see that, most likely this attempt at buying is over and the move continues. All right, and we're making another correction. Might have another double algo here. A lot more selling coming in here, so that's good. That makes me feel good about the position, is that we have the selling, and not only selling, and the supply here, minus 433, and the selling. So I am making this distinction these days between supply and selling. And, before the Precision Delta, I didn't really make the distinction because it didn't exist. Okay? So the waves show the supply and demand minus 433 accompanied with a lot of selling. That's good. So here we go. Also, renewed wave supply. So that's why it's important to make the distinction between supply and selling and demand and buying. That allows us to see when this demand contracted here with the 18 and we see a rise in buying, it allowed us to conclude that this is overbought. All right, now the selling continues to expand. So we'll see, it looks like it broke this level, so it's more selling than the previous cumulative delta wave here. So supply selling continues right here. So actually that makes me feel very good for the take profit, because level that I have, which is pretty far down, or was it pretty far down? Well, I guess we'll see what happens, but makes me feel more confident now because the initial selling and supply came in, had the nice two double algos, breakdown on total XKontrol. We see the contraction demand, but it's overbought. And now it's continued selling, renewed supply, and look, we've got, the bids outpacing the offers is also renewed. Okay. So, that's very good. Renewed pace of bids. All right, so let's count the points of confluence at the time of the trade and see what we get. All right, at the time of the trade, we had the total XKontrol of the bids, that's 1. We had a double algo before that, so that's another 2 points, that's 3 points. I mean, I can count this as well and give it another 2 points. Since we see 2 double algos, but we'll leave it as is. 3 points. Oh, one thing I forgot I wanted to talk about was this big green dot here. So we had total control. See, this is what's interesting. We had total control of the offers. I'll write this quickly. But it's no demand. No demand, and what ends up happening is it's overbought, right? So that's a failed attempt at the offers to take control. It's a failed attempt. So this is actually after we break down here, we determine that this failed. So that's another point. So this is a failed attempt to take control of the offers. So that's 4 points, right? We had the initial wave supply, 5 points. We had the initial bids and control. I'll give that another point because we have, 3 dots here, 1, 2, 3, so it's overwhelmingly the bids are in control. So we got 6 points. We had the initial MBox selling, that's 7. Compared to the previous day, I showed it, it was very strong. So that's 8. Cumulative selling here, we see that's 9. Compared to the previous day, it was very strong, that's 10. Bids outpacing the offers, that's 11. All right, we see that the demand contracts and we have, we're overbought. So that's another point. So we've got what, 11 points of confluence or 12, you know. So that's a lot. That's a lot. All right, so we're almost, 10 grand. We broke 10 grand profits. All right. And somebody else is going to say, well, what about this Stooges buy signal? Right. So the thing is, this is, again, just like this was a failed attempt at the offers to take control, this was a failed attempt. Shows that, there was a chance for the bulls to take, the prices higher, and it became a failed signal at this breakdown here. So we can add another point. So what do we got? 12, 13 points. That's a lot. All right. So yeah, see, we had another double algo here, potentially another, add-on here, but I've been yapping my mouth. And, that's all right. So I'm going to put the record on pause and come back after we see a little more, but I think we are in great shape. Right. Oh, look at this. See this a blue box, but it's below 0. It means that there's more selling than buying, even though price moved up. So this is a buy imbalance with a double algo, and selling is expanding. Very, very strong. You see, there's no, after this, there's no big green dots. The supply and the bids are just dominating. All right, so I'm going to pause and we'll come back when we see more. All right, so we're back, and it's been about half hour, a little more. I just entered an add-on after I saw this total control of the bids again. I put in an add-on. So, basically price decided to, correct a little bit. I let the trade go against me, considering how strong the supply and selling was. So I just decided to wait. Looks like this is took off right away. 19 grand in profits. All right, I really like that. I mean, I'll talk about, this was a very strong signal right here, the total control of the business, X total control dot, the big one right here. So look at this. We see something similar going on here, right, to before. So minus 433, minus 176, minus 148, right? Looks like supply contract a little bit. We're getting a little bit of buying here, right? We see some demand here, 226. It drops to 135, right? And what got me, to enter this add-on again. So we see contraction of demand, and at the same time, what do we see? We see an increase in buying, overbought. It's a divergence. So contraction of demand. So these are like tipping points. These are optimal entrance points when you can spot these divergences. And this, we have, increase in buying, so it's overbought. Buying becomes overbought because of the contraction of the demand. All right. Little. All right. Anyway, so that's what are we? 21,000. All right, so this is this is the hard part, is to let your winners run, right? And sometimes it's hard to let the trade go against you. You know, um, I guess I would be really concerned if the trade reached up back to the to where I entered. Then I might think that maybe price, the market has reversed. You know, because at this level where we broke down and where I entered was very strong. And we see, so what had happened was the demand came in, and then we have contraction, we have an increase in buying, it becomes overbought. This is also an effort, no result, right? Because more buying, less demand. All right, so there's more effort, but there is less demand. So it's also an effort, no result. And we were talking about this in the Discord room the other day, how to spot this. All right, and then what ends up happening? What ends up happening is that this buying contracts, just like the demand. The buying contracts, just like the demand. There it is. Got to adjust it to get that text. And again, when if you think you see some chop, you got to look what's going on overall. Overall, we had still huge supply, huge selling, so the bias is, the bears. And then when we see the contraction demand, increase in buying becomes overbought. That's a divergence. And I got in on this beautiful signal right here. We have another total bid control dot, which is shown by the XKontrol indicator. All right, so we're sitting pretty right now, 23 grand in profits. I mean, this trade is working out really great. Looks like we've got more selling, so how much further we gotta go? We still gotta go a little bit, but look at this. This looks pretty promising. Looks promising to me. All right. I guess I'll put it on pause again, and then we'll come back in a little bit, see what happens. All right, and we're back. We hit that. We hit that target. We just hit that target. I mean, this was amazing. I think this is one of the best trading days I've ever had. 36,000 in profits. That's just unbelievable. Um, that's just huge. That's just huge. I put in my order fills here. Wanted to point out that basically we had a breakdown on the total XKontrol of bids. That was the first entry, and we had also a breakout, breakdown right here. So at around the breakdown, we had another total control of the bids right here. So the total bid control, it's also a breakdown. All right, well, I guess that's it. I mean, that's just amazing. I'm 36. I just feel good about analyzing and making the right decisions here, But that's the power of MBox Precision Deltas, giving this clear picture of the order flow. Since I made that algorithm, it's been a lot easier for me to even analyze the markets and see these waves of buying and selling and making sense out of them. So we've got, what's going to happen next. We see a selling expanding. We have a huge amount of supply here, 714. We got to see what happens. I mean, it is, entering a point of, support here that's been tested several times. So, watch out for that. See what happens with the order flow at that level. Um, this was really, I'm just sort of elated right now. Anyway, I guess that's it for me today. Hope you guys enjoy the video. I think there was a lot of learning material here. I think I'm getting better and better at explaining, and I think I'm refining my own skills. As I go along across over the years, I'm being able to define and see the markets better and better, and trying to pass that information on to you guys. So that's it, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.